Hi, I'm Anikinipom. Today I would like to address Shockofgod's statement, please provide proof and evidence that atheism is, on certain occasions he said, true and correct or just correct. And I actually can tell you that I cannot. There's a couple of reasons why I cannot, and I'm gonna go through it as the best way I know how. Well, the reason why I cannot provide any proof or evidence that atheism is true and correct is because there isn't really any evidence of it whatsoever. It's an unfalsifiable claim, like TJ, the Amazing Atheist, or any other atheist on YouTube that's made a video response to this question or statement that we're supposed to provide a response to all over the internet, all over YouTube and Google and so on. It's an unfalsifiable claim. It's kind of like trying to say, well, how about you try to provide proof and evidence that zombies are real, or pink unicorns, Santa Claus. I mean, make your pick. I know you say how atheists love to use the example of Santa Claus, but I mean it's a good example of you taking something imaginary and then trying to prove that it's real. It doesn't make it more likely that that's the case. Even if you were to try to prove, for example, that Santa Claus is real, that doesn't mean that God is real. I mean, each independent example in that would have to be verified on its own. It's kind of like the time when they discovered oxygen. When they discovered oxygen doesn't mean they discovered nitrogen. And each one of them, their discoveries, are two independent discoveries. You can't provide proof for one just because the other is true. Not in that specific instance anyways. But the other question that was posed in the video was, what if you're wrong? Hey atheist, what if you're wrong? You know, what if you are going to go to heaven or are going to go to hell and you're going to be judged? And it's like, well, the best I can answer for that is, well, I'm going to live a life worth remembering. That's the best I can do. I'm going to do the best job I can. I don't care about my soul because I don't even believe in a soul. Even if there was a God, it doesn't prove that I have a soul. Even then, it doesn't mean that I have every right to do horrible things to other people. And it doesn't mean that atheists don't have a sense of morality or ethics or a belief in commonality and family and so on. It doesn't mean any of that. So, I mean, I don't see what this really would prove, even if I were to provide evidence that atheism is true, if I even had it. And I don't. I really don't have any evidence that atheism is true and correct. But you don't either. You're relying on the word of mouth from people from 2,000 years ago. I'm not saying that I haven't once been a believer, but I think there is, as a matter of fact, one passage that kind of explains Christianity as a whole. And I hate to be so overly simplistic about the whole religion. By the way, this is my Holy Bible from when I was young, and you can look it up for yourself. It's Luke chapter 17, verse 21. Neither shall they say, lo here, or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. And I think this pretty much sums up any religion. It's not about proof or evidence out there. It's an article of faith. It's what you feel. It's something that you believe in personally. It's not meant to be proven by scientific evidence. And I always love it when Christians say, well, you know, this evidence points to this could be true historically. And there might be some evidence here and there that might provide some kind of support for example, Noah's flood in modern day Iraq. Okay, it might provide some evidence here or there that might have occurred, and there might have been a guy named Noah, and that the plains flood like they do every year, or they did at least at that time, and he had an ark. But is it really realistic to believe that he had every single animal on earth right in that boat? I mean, it's meant to be a story. As with any fiction, it's meant to be a story to inspire people, and I'm not saying it hasn't. The Holy Bible has been used as a means to transmit a story of morality and ethics and so on. But again, so was Beowulf. It was meant to be a chivalrous story. But it doesn't mean it's any bit true, just because it's old and it's time-tested. And that's what I'm saying about any other religion. I mean, they could say all they want about how true it may or may not be, but I mean, it doesn't have any bearing if it doesn't have evidence. And that's all I can say. Me personally, I don't need to be a believer to believe in humanity. I don't have to be a believer to walk down the street and help my fellow man. And I don't have to be a believer to donate to an AIDS charity, or walk side by side with a Christian or Hindu or anybody else for that matter, and fight for causes. You know, just because I'm not a believer doesn't necessarily mean I'm for or against abortion. You know, most atheists do take a pro-abortion stance, and I don't. So, I mean, it's not a political issue. Not all atheists are nihilists or sadists. I'm sure there's a couple of them that are out there. Or I'm sure that there's some of them are communists or even socialists or capitalists or whatever. There's no particular political ideology that they're attached to or associated with. So, I mean, again, it more or less comes down to individual choice. And that's the best answer I can provide. As far as morality or ethics are concerned, I think there's one principle that I learned from morality and ethics that I think applies here. And that one is, if you can provide somebody an easing of suffering for anybody else, then it should be something that we should pursue. For example, if a horse has a broken leg or is injured severely to where it can't live any longer, the best way is to try to ease its suffering by putting it down with a bullet to its head. And I know that's kind of a weak example, but how about the nausea and vomiting caused by chemotherapy for a cancer patient? You want to ease it as much as possible, and that's a principle that morally and ethically most people agree on. Much in the same way, being atheist, for me, I can't say for anybody else, but for me, is to try and cut down as much of the fantasy that exists in the world and deal with reality head on. And that's the best way I can help others cope with life. And I'm not here to proselytize to any Christian and try to convert them. I gave that up a long time ago. I gave up trying to convert anybody a long time ago because I figured it's completely pointless. People tend to be very stubborn, and it's just something that I don't see as a dire necessity for anybody, and that's why I don't make too many videos on atheism. So anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, favorite it, and please subscribe. Thank you.